Go, 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 let's get it. I'm a trapping fanatic, that shit automatic, so I cannot turn it on or off. Bitches all on my dick, then she hop on my dick, I'm like, why you keep hopping on and off? Your bitch all on my dick, she be doing the most. I tell her, little bitch, she so extra. And my gun up on me, but not run up on me. Niggas, they wanna fight, they some wrestlers.
Atami Zero was born and raised in a small town in the United States. His mother was African American, and his father was Japanese. At a young age, Atami Zero discovered his love for soccer, and quickly showed his natural talent in the sport. He became one of the best young players in his region, earning him a scholarship to a prestigious soccer academy. In his first week, he would sub into a friendly match against another school and looks to his coach. "Glad that brain of yours can work. I'm tired of waiting anyway." Before his coach could say anything or take him out of the game before he even went in, he ran out to the pitch, where his other teammates would begin to ignore him. Zero was an outsider to them, so they didn't pass. They didn't pass him the ball at all. However, they did pass to the other striker in their 4-4-2 formation. Zero makes a great move to get past the defender and get himself open, but as he looks for the pass, they don't pass him the ball, and the striker who does have it misses the shot. "Why didn't you pass to me?" Zero is ignored again and looks around. Playing here at this school was different than playing in public school, as none of his friends were here. So, this wouldn't stop him. "I'll just score my damn self." The other team sends the ball up, but it's intercepted by Zero mid-air, who tries to trap it with his chest, but does mess up a little bit. "Out of my way." Zero then performs a chop into a feint, where he dashes by everyone. Only 3 defenders were left to stop him. His teammates would yell out for a pass, but he didn't care for it at all. He blocked out everything, allowing his ego and selfishness to truly show here. Zero danced around all 3 defenders like never before. His father stood up, shocked as he's never seen his son play like this. But now, his son also seemed completely different, as if he was a different person. The anger within Zero was used to get by and then score an amazing long shot. He would clench his fist celebrating the game, and his academy coach wouldn't even know what to say. This is where Zero would be left in the game and scores his first hat trick with this team. They could no longer deny him, but he didn't care for it anyway. He realized he wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone but himself. Zero then looks up, with his red and gold eyes yawning. "I don't care what you think of me. Stay out of my way and let me score. I'll take us to victory alone with my goals." When he gets home, his father was already watching the video footage that he had taken of his game that day. "Zero. What up, Pops?" "Hey, young man." "Fine. What did I do this time?" "Where did you learn to play like that? I watched some of your old highlights on YouTube with your team and saw another player who was there." Zero's father sighed, pulling up a chair and sitting down. "Who was it?" Zero looked at him, wondering if he was in trouble for playing that way. "I don't know his name. It was Ego or something like that. Something weird." His father sighed. "Yeah, I could tell. He vanished from the world, well, the football world, a while ago. I couldn't even tell you where he's at right now." "But you can't play that way, my son." "Why? It works for me. I score and I win. What else is there to do? You have to work with a team to be successful in football. That doesn't make sense at all. The team should support me as a sole striker so that we can win." Zero's dad stands up, already exhausted from this conversation, saying that his son's vision and ideal of football, well, the way that he wanted to play it, had changed before, right before his very eyes. "I've played with Jinpachi Ego for quite some time. I was a midfielder who assisted him with his goals, as he was the striker for our club team. He had calculated movements, alongside many other things that made him great, but he was still second to the world's #1. Noel Noah? Yes, my son. Son, if you really wish to play football in that selfish way, I won't stop you. Just know this is a road that you can never turn back on. Zero nods and watches his father leave the living room and come back in, handing him something. Everything that guy ever told me that I thought was interesting, I wrote down in this notebook. I studied under him, watching his game up close. He's a real piece of work, but you'll get more use out of this than me. Zero holds it, opening up the first page to see something that describes egoism, as it was a long paragraph. He reads it and is more interested than ever, as this version of football felt comforting to him, as if he was always looking for it. Now, time slowly began to pass as Zero grows up in the United States. At the academy, Atsumi Zero continued to excel and quickly established himself as an elite striker or center forward. His creativity, speed, acceleration, and many other things made him a nightmare for defenders, as he could always score at will. His performances also caught the attention of many football clubs and scouts. He was soon offered a contract to play on a top-tier team in the United States for the MLS. However, tragedy would strike as soon Zero's father, he was his biggest supporter and inspiration, fell ill and passed away. Devastated by the loss of his father and determined to honor his memory, Zero made the difficult decision to leave his career in the US and pursue one in Japan, as this would be a way for him to honor his dead father by winning him a World Cup for his country. There was nothing more that Zero had desired than that. After his move, he would now be a freshman at his new school. It was a private academy with great coaches. Trials were said to be that week, so later, Zero began preparing himself. As soon one day after school, he heads around, to his locker, to see an upperclassman fighting. Zero walks by and gets closer to his own locker, opening it, with the upperclassman turning to him. "Who the hell are you? I've never seen you here before." Zero ignores this person until his locker is smashed closed. Ryusei Shido and Zero make eye contact here for the first time. Shido throws a punch and Zero dodges, hitting him in the face with his own. "Keep your filthy hands away from me." Later in the afternoon, Zero has tryouts where Shido would be present, but he was already on the school's varsity squad. However, he's benched for his bad behavior. Zero is placed on the JV squad as a starter just because they already have capable strikers on the varsity squad. The season begins to go by quick as Atsumi Zero becomes their main scorer. Through that notebook that he was given, his own ego evolves early as he's able to develop his weapons, which allows him to change the game completely. A ricochet shot, where he aims for one of the goalposts and it bounces into another before going into the goal, and his speed and acceleration were incredible as he also looked up to Julian Loki. Zero leads them all the way to a district semifinals, where they played Ichin High School. The two teams would line up with Yoichi Isagi facing Atsumi Zero. Both strikers with great skill knew that this game meant more than anything to them, so they had to win it. The match begins, and Isagi heads forward with the ball. Zero is the first to try and guard him, but he does so lazily, allowing Isagi to dribble around him and pass off to his teammate. Zero watches his moves close as Isagi performs multiple stepovers into different dribble combinations, causing him to question just who was Yoichi Isagi. Zero, though, stays in his position, with Ichin High School getting the first goal of the game. So this is how they're going to play. The coach for the team then notices one of their varsity players was sitting down on the bench in his warm-up gear. "Look at that, coach. Your brat is about to get out of control. Shido, what are you doing here? And what are you talking about? You know, coach, there's a reason why he's still on JV and he hasn't moved up yet. And I don't think you realize it." Shido then becomes increasingly serious while watching the game reset. It's because he likes to hold himself back. Isagi looks at Zero, who sends the ball right at him with incredible speed. It's almost as if it's coming right at his face. Isagi has time to react and has to jump to trap it with his chest, only to then be bodied mid-air by Zero, who steals the ball from him. As he came out of nowhere. Wait, did he pass me the ball like that so he could blind me? Thanks, but I want this win more than anything else in the world. Zero dashed by him, shocking everyone with his acceleration and his speed. Two defenders would appear and try to stop him, but he kicks the ball through one of their legs and spins around the second, regaining possession of it while looking up to see the final defensive line. Good thing I'm already in range. Zero pulls back his leg, shooting it into the left post as it would hit the right one before going into the back of the net. His team then surrounds him, but Zero does nothing but place his hands on his jersey number. That's 1. This is where we get a flashback to Kid Zero and his father training. He's struggling on a dribble move to get it down and almost gives up. You can't quit, kid. Do you know why I gave you your name and what it means? And what it means to you? Zero shakes his head, not knowing at all, with his father passing him the ball. Everything starts from you, Zero, the ground, from nothing. You were named Zero because of the endless possibilities that you'll have in life. But it all starts with you, son. Only you can make the difference. We go back to the present, seeing Zero walking by Isagi, telling him that his fate had already been decided the moment he stepped onto the pitch. Isagi ignores this statement, and he sets up the ball, passing it to his left. His teammates then send it back towards him once he was open again, but Zero appears, stealing it from his blind spot. Don't be so shocked. I'm playing in a completely different world than you. Isagi recovers once again, trying to steal, but Zero actually slows himself down, allowing Isagi's leg to hit the back of his heel, which gets a foul, which shouldn't have been called anyway. But Zero only has a smile on his face as he sets up the ball quickly, not even trying to, just stopping the movement of it, and then running forward with as much speed as he can, as one of his teammates then runs into it, kicking it towards him, as he turns midair, trapping it with ease. Zero has his back to the goal and was being guarded by 2 people. Isagi thinks there's no way for him to score from this position, but Zero turns his body and begins to focus intensely as he enters an early state of flow, where he lands on the ground, dribbling around them with ease before they could even react, as he gets closer and closer to goal with more people trying to guard him. He goes from step-overs to elasticos to chops and then to feints. Isagi calls him incredible, but it's far from over. Zero then turns his body, seeing the incoming tackle, but he flicks the ball into the air, and another player then knocks him off balance, causing him to smile. But Isagi thinks that it's over now, as this was such good defense that they can counter and score from this play. The coach on the bench then looks worried for a star player, but Shido gets up. He's pretty fun to watch. I can't wait until he makes varsity in the spring season. Shido doesn't even turn his head to see Zero perform a scissor kick with his left foot that flies right into the net. Make that 2. Isagi has no idea who this player is. He's one of a kind, but he also plays in a style so familiar to him, but he doesn't know where he's seen it before. The more Isagi thinks about it, he knows that Zero has many plays, or plays just like Noel Noah, in a way. But he also plays like someone else who he's seen. He just can't remember. Zero's team then goes on to win the game and then the district championship, bringing home the trophy for their school. As he returns home, his mom was proud of him, but he still wishes his father was here to see how great he had become. A couple of weeks do pass and Zero continues to train, practicing so that he could one day be on varsity. But he gets a letter. Thinking it was from a club team in Japan, he wanted to decline it, but it was from something interesting. A place called Blue Lock. Zero goes to the facility where the speech by Jinpachi Ego was given. However, he was one of the last to walk towards the open stage. Jinpachi Ego. Yes, that's me. And who are you? Just a striker with a dream of chasing a World Cup for his father. I'm just returning something that doesn't belong to me or him. I've already memorized it anyway. Here. He gives him the notebook, with Ego's eyes widening, knowing this handwriting. Just who are you? The name's Atsumi Zero, and don't you forget it. This name caused Ego to have flashbacks of his old teammate who was a midfielder. He was regarded as one of the best passers and playmakers of their generation. And this was his son? Becoming a striker instead, while using his own notes and mindset. Henri then notices the smile on Ego's face as Zero walks by heading inside as well. Well then, Zero, show me how well you've studied the material. When the players return to the facility, Zero is handed a jersey and is given the rank 265. He walks into a room, seeing Team W. All types of players are on this team, as Ego appears on the screen introducing the game of tag. Zero sits down, looking around, watching everyone mess around with the ball, and when the time hits 3 seconds, he gets up, sprinting and stealing the ball. He turns his head, looking at everyone scatter around, and then runs towards the person who was ranked 300, sending the ball right into their chest. There, the weakest link is gone. The timer then goes off with Ego congratulating the rest of them for passing the first test, as now the first selection can truly begin. As during the first couple of days of training, the Wanima twins quickly gravitate towards Zero as they realize he's one of the best on their team, if not the best, as during the practices, they have to get Zero to show off some of his weapons, and they would surprise the team, thinking that he should be ranked way higher. And their first match will be against Team Y, with Nico and Okowa. The two teams would later step onto the pitch, seeming equal, while Zero sets up the ball. This is Blue Lock, a place for me to become Japan's best striker and win a World Cup. Well, my story can truly begin here then. Zero looks around, seeing all the players in front of him that pose no real threat at all. You'll need everyone on this field to stop me. He then runs forward, shocking everyone with his explosive acceleration and his top speed, as both were jaw-dropping abilities. But there was even more than that. Okowa steps to guard him, but is made to look like a fool as Zero dribbles right through him. More players then surround him, but he drops the ball off to one of the twins with a backheel pass before he gets it right back from a 1-2 situation. With his back turned to the goal, Zero sees Iki Nico trying to sneak his way behind him and steal the ball. You're pretty good at moving around the pitch, but you're still a little too slow. Zero rushes right at Nico, shocking his team and his opponents. The goalkeeper for Team Y loses sight of Zero as he was surrounded, and then he hid behind Nico and Okowa. Tell me something, can those eyes of yours even see this? Okowa shouts that Zero is too far even for him to shoot. Yeah, you're right. He then feints, faking a shot, and goes to his left to see a clear path. He puts all his power into it, curving it a little bit with the ball just barely going in. Nico and Okowa turn to Zero, seeing him with his hand extended and looking down at it. But this is Blue Lock. Henri and Ego both watch his last play happen, with Ego seeming excited. Pay attention, as it seems Atsumi Zero has begun to truly evolve here and now. The screen will show Zero with his hand over his eyes. As he moves it away, more attention will be drawn to his red eye. Good, now it's time to devour everything. The Wanima twins ask what he means, only to see him smile, and his sharp teeth almost like fangs would show. Zero stays silent before laughing out loud out of nowhere. With the match beginning once again, Okowa has the ball and heads forward, having Zero slide in his way. I can't let you get by me. Okowa dribbles, doing an in and out combo, going from his right leg to his left, getting right by Zero actually. Okowa steps forward smiling. Looks like you were all talk after all. As he tries to move forward, he realizes his cleats were touching nothing but air. Huh? He looks down to see that the ball was gone and turns to see Zero with it, grinning from ear to ear, as he had the ball right under his own cleat. Zero turns his body, running away, dodging and spinning through defenders. The twins would keep up with him, as the three players would make a triangle, which they use to devour each player on Team Y. All three of them were somehow synced up with the last pass going to Zero. Iki Nico slide tackles, but Zero flicks the ball up and performs a mid-air trap. Okuwa then appears to block it, alongside the keeper diving in the way. But Zero then turns his body, showing his flexibility, and backheels the ball into the net while not even looking. He begins laughing, claiming Blue Lock was getting more and more interesting. Yeah, that's it. How about all of you just guard me? Help me create a new goal from scratch, every time. Nico wonders why someone like him was ranked so low, which leads to Team W eventually winning their first match here in Blue Lock. Zero ends with 4 goals for his team, as Team Y has none at all. As after this win, he heads out to train alone and work on his weaknesses. Since this is Blue Lock, he has to force himself to evolve on and off the pitch, no matter what that costed him. Later that day, he then goes off and is allowed to choose whatever he wants to eat since he has so many goals already. The next match they have is coming up, and it was against another team, that being Team V. Team W does watch some film in order to prepare themselves, but Zero doesn't really care to watch. He wants to see how good they are in person. Team W asked what he would do, and he said that they would win, as he just plans to score. That's his only job as a striker anyway. Worrying about anything else will hinder his development. Zero walks off and heads to a pitch to train alone, as when he walks on, a shorter dark-haired player then walks by him. I'll win this next match. I have to. A couple days do pass as we see Team W walking onto another pitch to greet their opponents. Rio and Zantetsu then note that Zero is a little taller than they thought, but it doesn't matter anyway, as they need to do everything they can to stop him, because if they're able to stop him from scoring, that means they can win this match easily. The match then begins and Zero heads forward alone, leaving his team in the dust, with Rio stepping in front to guard him, but is quickly blown away by his acceleration, with Zantetsu coming from the wing as he was the only one who could slow him down. Zero then makes a quick dribble move to get right around the speedster. Almost had me there. Zero then combines stepovers with a nutmeg that gets him right through defenders and closer to the goal. As he prepares to shoot, a slide tackle from Zantetsu happens, so he's forced to flick the ball into the air. Looks like this has become my signature. Well, I'm still open. Rio then comes up as well, spinning Zero off balance, making it even harder for him to shoot. While midair, Zero does a full 360 into a scissor kick. That goes into the goal. Make that 1 then. After landing, he says he's a little dizzy, with Rio commenting to himself that Zero is almost just like Nagi, but it's different. But he can't put his finger on it just yet. Rio quickly turns to Nagi, asking if he wished to try something like this, with the prodigy shrugging, saying he didn't really care, as long as the game gets over soon. Team V would start with the ball, and Nagi passes to Rio, who sends it wide. But as the ball was chipped over them, it goes to Zantetsu, who continues to dribble down the line and then sends it to the middle where Nagi was. Hey, nice pass, Zantetsu. The lazy prodigy would score an easy goal, tying the game back 1-1. Rio clenches his fist, saying no matter how strong Zero was, he was fighting alone, so they had the advantage over him. He turns back, expecting Zero to be focused on that last play, but he was so uninterested. His back was completely turned away from the goal and everything. The ball would then be given back to him as he sets it up, as Rio walks by asking if he cared that they just scored. No, not really. That's not my job after all. All I need to do is score. What are you talking about? Football is more than just that. Yeah, you're right. But why the hell should I care? I have to do my job for them to do theirs. I just need to score. Nothing else matters to me. Rio looks into the red and gold eyes of Zero, shocked by his careless expression that becomes very vengeful. Tell me something. Why are you even here? It's clear you don't want to be the best striker for Japan. So what do you really want? Rio backs away, not knowing how to answer this question just yet. It was something in the back of his mind, but now because of Zero it was more relevant than ever. He stays silent as the play resumes. And after they steal the ball, cause Zero passed it to one of the Wanima twins and they lost it, Nagi goes on to trap it, telling Ryo that it was a good pass. He twisted his head, sending it to Zantetsu, who was in his goal-scoring range, taking the shot for himself. It then spins into the outside corner, hitting the post, and flies back out. The players then scatter, with Nagi showing up trapping it, as he scores another wonder goal, as this match begins to excite Zero. Zero was a player who Nagi actually found interest in as well, as they were sort of two sides of the same coins. Atsumi Zero then turns to the Wanima twins, telling them both to guard Nagi and not to lose the ball next time he passes to them. They nod, and Zero wipes some of the sweat off of his jersey. These three are pretty strong, and it's truly a 3 versus 1. For me to score again, I'll have to do something new. Zero sighs while thinking of all the possibilities, stating all of this is getting aggravating. But he's starting to gain something else. Zero begins the match dribbling, twisting his own head, looking around, examining everything around him, trying to find the best route for him to score. This is when players begin to crash on him for the ball, but he backheels to one of the twins, who sends it up to the wing. This is when Zero continuously looks around, taking in the information on the field, with Ryo wondering what he was doing as he was guarding him close. He hasn't even looked towards the ball yet. Zero then turns his back to the goal, blocking off the vision of Ryo. He then jumps in the air, performing a bicycle kick as the pass had come out of nowhere, as this will be one of the goals that ties the game. Zero begins laughing. Man, I hate that I had to rely on that idiot's move. Whatever though, you'll get a kick out of it later. Nagi and Ryo are shocked that Zero could even score from that angle. Ryo himself then had the realization that Zero was better than Nagi. He didn't want to believe it, but as this match continued on, it was proven time and time again by Zero scoring more goals than Nagi himself, and he could do so alone. The match ends with Team W's victory over them, as more days of training do pass, and Zero begins to work on this ability, this vision that he has, seeing the pitch in a completely different way. He almost had it, but there was still something missing, a piece to the puzzle. Team W then had their next match against Team Z. The two teams step onto the pitch, with Team Z focusing on Zero, as he's already scored 8 goals here in Blue Lock. They knew he was dangerous from watching all his film, but all they had to do was stop him. He was one player after all. Zero looked forward, watching Isagi set up the ball, and he smiled. I remember you. Yoichi Isagi. If my memory serves me right, and my intuition is still pretty good, you should be even stronger than you were then. Isagi contrives to ignore this, and passes the ball to his right, but Kunigami trapped it and headed forward. They needed to score fast and early in order to put this team away early in the game. The Wanima twins would shift their position towards Kunigami and force the pass back to the middle where Isagi was. That's good. All I need to do now is... Before he could finish his thought, the ball was then stolen by Zero. Looks like you were the piece I was missing. Zero's fangs would show, as his personality starts to take a drastic change as he completely devours Isagi with his dribbling moves, going right around him. This is great. Bachira and Kunigami then crash on Zero, only to be completely outsped by him. Jeez, what is that acceleration? Zero turns his body completely spinning around Raichi and was now outside the 18-yard line. That's weird. With these eyes, I can see my goal even better now. As he goes to shoot, Kuon and the Wanima twins would all try to stop him. Not this time. Looks like you idiots fell right for it. Zero pulls the ball back, stopping, and then vanished behind the 3 players. Team Z's goalie then looks around, not being able to see him, wondering where he went. No, where was he going to shoot from? The ball then comes out of nowhere and heads towards the top corner, where the goalkeeper reacts, trying to dive that way, only for the ball to move from his hand and hit the right post before hitting the bottom of the crossbar and then bouncing into the goal. Isagi then looks to Zero, wondering what exactly that was, as he would get flashbacks to that very same shot that was used against him and his team. But this time, it was different. After analyzing that entire play, Isagi then realized what made Zero so strong. His ego was somehow already developed alongside his ricochet shot. But just who was Atsumi Zero? He disregards that thought and focuses more on the game, with the two teams going back and forth, with Kuon scoring the goals to keep Team Z in the game. It leads the score all the way to 4-4. This is when Kuon switches teams as Isagi loses hope, not seeing a way for them to win at all. Before he could pass, he then hears the voice of Zero. "Yo Isagi, for the rest of this match, I'll be joining Team Z. I'll support you to score, and I won't do it for you." Isagi's mind then opens so many different possibilities and ways for them to score. The match then resumes as Isagi passes to Zero, who looks forward. "Try to sync up and keep up with me." He passes to Isagi and the two 1-2 back and forth, running through Team W. The Wanama twins would double Zero, but can't even use their own bodies to block his. His strength was also astonishing. Zero then flicks the ball with his heel over them, doing a rainbow, as he sends it right to Isagi, who would smile. His level of football is so different from my own. I want to reach that realm as well. Isagi is ready to shoot the ball, but then his body is knocked off balance. But he's able to perform a new shot, a direct scissor kick. It goes into the net, earning him a goal for this match. Ego then notes that things are becoming interesting, as he didn't expect that from Yoichi Isagi. But it makes sense when you pair him with someone like Atsumi Zero. For Team W's final match, Zero sits out, not wanting to be a part of a team like that anymore. And they do lose that match, getting eliminated from Blue Lock since their players relied on Zero too much and had scored no goals on their own. He was the only person left from his team as Ego begins training him in order to prepare him for the next selection. On top of Ego's training, Zero focuses more and more on this vision, as it was truly incredible. The things he could see in that last match, well, he wants to replicate that feeling by training his stamina. Of course, what I'm talking about is Metavision, but it's still so far in his early stages. Zero later walks out into a room with everyone staring in his direction, as he was the only player to come from that direction. Ego then explains how the second selection will work, and Zero is the first to head into the room, not even listening. He steps onto the pitch, where the goalkeeper appears, and then the ball is dropped from one of the walls. Zero looks at it, then shooting forward, scoring. Easy enough, 99 more, but I can't score every goal like that. Let's put my stamina to the test. This is when we see Metavision, well his pattern, on his eyes for the first time. As now, the ball drops and he traps it with his chest, and he shoots smiling. However, the keeper blocks it. Not bad. I wouldn't want this to be easy. Zero continuously tries to use Metavision to improve his goals through trial and error. But this process is hard for even him. In fact, it takes him longer, due to the training getting harder and harder the more he progresses within it. With Zero pushing his limits with Metavision, it evolves alongside him, as he's able to get a hold of it and how it should be used in these type of situations in order for him to score. As for using it in a real match, he might need a little bit more work. Luckily for him, he exits and he's actually given time to rest. This leads to him taking on a different player who he had seen in the room as well. Zero walks over, placing a hand out to someone else who had been forgotten. "Join me, and we'll climb to the top together." Ryo would look up at Zero, telling him that he didn't know about this. This is when his personality begins to shift, with his red eyes shining more in the light. He grabs Ryo by his jersey and slams their heads together. "I don't think you get it. With your passing and your vision, you could become one of the most dominant midfielders to ever exist. Forget Blue Lock and becoming the world's best striker, as that'll be me. But if you're by my side, we'll surely take a World Cup by force." Ryo's dream and ego are then refueled by the vision of Zero and himself holding the World Cup together for Japan. This might be interesting, as Zero is just a better version of Nagi and he's a more skilled version of Isagi. These two might be a more perfect fit for each other than they realize. Ryo agrees, and Zero smiles, as they then head towards the door, with Ryo eventually speaking up. "Who's our final teammate?" "Oh yeah, that's right. He's an old friend of mine. I didn't even know he was in Blue Lock until a couple of minutes ago when we met. Yo, Shido, here's our final teammate. His name's Ryo, and he's going to help us devour our enemies." Shido laughs out loud, saying the second personality of Zero is always so interesting to interact with, but Zero ignores it, with Ryo asking what Shido meant, but he was already standing next to him with a hand on his shoulder. "You'll get a better understanding of it once we play. Yo, brats, come on." Shido then smiles, as Zero tries to fight with him, and they would enter the room with the 3 versus 3, but no one was currently in it, so they'd have to train and wait, which was actually good for them. The 3 go to a training pitch, with the goalkeeper already being there to assist in the training. Ryo asked the 2 of them how they wanted to play, and they glared back at him. "What do you mean? We want explosive goals that shock a crowd, something that makes our opponents lose hope. Once our foot step on their neck, we won't let up until the final whistle is blown." Ryo quickly takes a step back, looking at the 2 players in front of them, as they had some sort of crazy look in their eyes. They had to be brothers. However, when he asked, they're told that they only met just last year. Zero and Shido begin passing back and forth with wild plays while devouring each other. Their mix of styles and creativity, as well as explosiveness, makes Ryo shake to his core, wondering if he could even help them win and achieve their goal. No, he has to, because he doesn't want to be left behind again. That feeling, he focuses on it. The revenge he wants to take on Isagi and Nagi. He have to fit in this new style and become the most destructive passer that Japan has ever seen. Zero senses something behind him, so he backheels the ball to Ryo, who traps it, letting the ball roll up his leg, and does a 360 pass to Shido, who hits a volley into the net. The 2 turn back to see Ryo with that same look in his eyes. This makes our crazy strikers go even harder, as a couple days do pass until the break, until Zero is approached by Iki Nico during his lunch. "Yo, Atsumi Zero, I want you on my team." "Is that so? Well, you have to beat me, or I'll make you join my team." Nico nods, as a match between these 2 teams would be set. Nico's team, which was Nico, Okawa, and a random player, while Zero's team was, of course, Zero, Shido, and Ryo. Team Nico starts with the ball, as they are immediately ambushed by Zero and Shido. Their speed alone shocks Nico and overloads him, as the ball will be stolen and kicked back to Ryo, who flicks it over his own head. Okawa has his ankles broken by this spectacular trap, with Ryo smiling. Now his hair was up, but it wasn't in a ponytail-like style. It was more in a messy bun, which actually fit the way he was playing now. And he then said, "Show me something jaw-dropping, you idiots." He crossed the ball to Zero, who turns his head, trapping it at the same time. He then dodges Shido, who was trying to steal it, and scores his first goal. "Not bad, Zero. You've grown pretty strong, but I'll devour you in the end. Keep trying, you demon. I'll just rip through you with my fangs." The 2 headbutt while smiling, with Ryo telling him to hurry up so that the game could reset. Both walk back with a smile, with Iki Nico wondering how Zero was able to see Shido coming, even though that was his own teammate. Did they know each other? Or was it even more than that? Could he predict it? The match goes on, with Nico's team being destroyed, but it leads him to being chosen as the one to come with them. As they walk through the hallway, Nico then turns to Zero. "Why did you choose me?" "Oh, yeah, well, to put it simple, you piqued my interest. Those eyes of yours are pretty similar to mine, but I think we have some training to do before I allow you to fully join my team. Ryo, Shido, I'll be training the runt for a little bit." Nico then follows Zero as they head right to a training room. "Alright, let's begin." He passes the ball to him and tells him to start. Nico takes a step and gets the ball stolen. "Again, you need to focus." Nico wonders why Zero seems so different now. He was nothing like he was during the match. He felt more calculated and calm, instead of sporadic and chaotic, as well as destructive. The two continue to do this over and over until Nico dribbles forward one time and then stops. He pulls back the ball, looking forward, exhausted. Zero stands straight back up, asking him if he could see it now. We get Iki Nico's POV as he sees this golden zone around Zero, blocking him from the goal. What is this? Now you started to see what high-class players like myself can see. But you'll need to focus more on and predict what I'll be able to do. So let's keep going. The two train for a couple more days, as they do have another match coming up against other players who interact with Shido and Ryo, as it would be a team made of Zantetsu, Raichi, Kunigami, and Igarashi. Each player looks around at their opponents, noting their strength. Shido himself promises to send them all to hell. Kunigami steps up as their hero, noting that they will be the victors. Zero and Shido both look back, stating that he has no chance at all. They start with the ball, and they send back and forth passes that are too much for their opponents. It gets to the point where all four of them were guarding just the two of them. Shido and Zero continue passing as if they weren't there at all. Yo, Shido, let's make sure they understand who we are. Zero starts to use Metavision, dribbling right by Kunigami and spinning through Raichi once again with the same move that he did before. He then gets closer to goal, with Zantetsu and Monk blocking the path. Zero's red and gold eyes then glow. Man, this feeling, it's incredible. He flicks the ball into the ground, causing it to bounce above his own head, with Shido coming out of nowhere scoring a header. That's the only free goal I'll give you, you demon. Is that so? Well, I'll make sure I take the next one from you, you bloodsucker. The two slap hands and walk back to their side of the field, with Ryo and Nico watching on. Nico wonders how Zero was able to see a goal like that so clearly, but he'll just have to explore this metavision for himself some more on his own. Maybe in this match, as of now, it's my trump card. If I use it now, I'll exhaust myself in a minute. From the last play, it seems like Zero can only use it in quick intervals, but he'll become tired as well. Nico continues to process the information around him, as he looks back to see Zero calm and relaxed from that last play, as he used up a little more stamina than he wanted to. Kunigami then heads forward right for Zero. The brown-haired player stands up, letting him go right by, as this is when Kunigami is blocked off by Ryo and the ball is stolen by Nico. Thanks, Ryo. Not a problem, Runt. Now go create something. As Nico steps up to dribble forward, Raichi was in his way, so he lifts his head, showing that he was now using Metavision as well, for this very moment. Stay the hell out of my way. Nico slams his foot into the ball, where it would kick right through the legs of Raichi into Zero, who looks towards the goal. Not bad at all for your first time in a real match. Nico smiles, seeing that the ball got to his target, as Zero performs a left-footed shot, scoring his first goal of this match. Kunigami wonders why they even went up against them, as he sees no way for them to win now. This is when he slowly begins to evolve, well, at least mentally. Instead of dribbling forward, he passes off to Zantetsu, who uses his speed to get by Shido and heads towards goal. On his path towards it, he encounters Ryo. Sorry, Zantetsu, but this is as far as I'll let you get. Zantetsu doesn't even speak, only showing the fruits of his training, as he stops and then bursts it with speed once again, getting right by Ryo. He stands up and winds up his own shot, but realizes he no longer has the ball, turning back to see Ryo with his foot on it. He couldn't believe it. He had really copied it. Ryo subconsciously copied Zero's snatch steal and ran forward with the ball. Not bad, Ryo. Now send it to me. Ryo sends it to him, but Shido tries to take it from him. Zero then ducks under the ball, shocking Shido as it would hit the post and come right back at him. Zero then performs an agility shot, scoring a second goal and facing Shido. Watch it, Shido. Your greediness is beginning to show. Yeah, and your fangs are causing an overbite, you ugly brat. Zero then puts his hands on his head wiping back some of his curls. I look better than you. The game then keeps going, with Kunigami realizing that the team he was facing wasn't even a team. Sure, they played on one, but each played in their solo way, a destructive way at that. It ends in their loss, with Zero looking at that team. I don't really care about who comes with us now, as this is the end. I'll let you choose, Ryo. Ryo looks at everyone, choosing Zantetsu due to the fact that they were teammates at one point. The team then walks into a dark room, with Ego explaining many things to them, especially luck, with Zero remembering it on one of Ego's notes, as he then announces the next match against the World 5 in a couple days. We skip to the day of the match, with Ryo not knowing if they could win. Shido and Zero both have an evil grin, knowing this was their chance to prove themselves as prodigies. Hey Demon, let's go create some chaos. Whatever, you vampire, just get me my goals. Yeah, if you think so. The two perform their signature handshake while stepping onto the pitch. The World 5 then turns to them, noticing that Ryusei Shido and Atsumi Zero didn't seem fazed by them at all. The match begins, and Zero sends the ball to Ryo, as Pablo Cavasso steps in front of him, but Ryo utilizes the moves of Zero to get right around him, and then sends the ball to Zantetsu. The speedster runs faster than ever, and sends the ball right over Luna to the center. Shido comes and jumps into the air, but Data Silver was there as well. The ball then shocks them, as it goes over their heads as well, into Zero, who is smiling. I'll devour every single drop of skill from you insects. He slams the ball into the post, where it hits the other post before going into the goal. Silva then turns around, looking back at Zero. Hey, I've seen that shot before. Who are you? It's my father's own. Silva then smiles, asking for his name. My name is Atsumi Zero, and don't you forget it. Atsumi, huh? Your father was a world-class player himself before he got injured. Yeah, I bet he was. Well, how is he? He's dead. This shocked Silva, as Zero's father was one of the most healthy players he's ever went up against. He gives his condolences only to see Zero, who had walked away, but then he turned around, with his metavision showing. If you want to give your condolences, play with me without holding back at all. Silva then looks away at Zero, seeing his father within him, especially since he had shared those fangs that took hope away from all their opponents. The World 5 resets with Loki heading forward alone. Shido and Zantetsu block his path from different angles, only to be overwhelmed by his speed. Both of them were stunned, not knowing what to say, as they didn't know a realm like this existed. Loki then winds up a shot, only to be contested by Iki Nico, who was using a very early stage of his own metavision. Not bad at all, but still, you need more than that to stop me. Loki spins through Nico and shoots, scoring his first goal of the match. Ryo watched on curiously, with Zero doing the same as well, as he used to look up to Julian Loki when he was coming up as a player. But he then looked to Zero's expression. Ryo did. Zero had turned back around, seeing as he didn't even care. The will of Zero was something incredible, as a goal like that didn't seem to affect him. Zero tells his team to get ready, as it seems they've met their match. The game continues on, with Zero and Shido passing the ball back and forth before dropping to Ryo, who looks around. Luna appears to him, telling him he's trapped, but he looks up with a crazy smile. Hate to burst your bubble, but it looks like you fell for it. Ryo bursted forward with speed in a similar manner to the way that Julian Loki just did. Pablo Cabassos would then cut him off, with Ryo noticing someone had slipped by him. The ball had then chipped over his head to Iki Nico. He traps it and stops the ball before looking ahead. He surveys the field one final time and then heads forward into the goal box. I can see it. Adam Blake then slides in his way, causing Nico to lose control of the ball, but he also smiles as he jumps equal height to the ball and slams it downward, causing it to bounce to Zero, who has it. Data Silver cuts off the angle with his largest size, and Loki blocks off the body of Zero. The young player lifts his head, getting a grin, as the ball was let bounce through them to Shido, who scores his own goal as well. This will be the final goal that the team scores. As they begin to exit, Data Silva looks at Zero. If your father could see you now, he'd be proud of how strong you've become. Zero holds out his fist, and the two bump fists, with Zero thanks. Next would of course come the preparation for the U20 match. This arc kind of goes the same, and I don't really want to go over it, because I just don't. I'd rather get to the end, where Ego begins announcing the team that he'll have for the U20 match. Ego goes over the lineup with only one change, being that Zero was starting over Nagi, and the fact that they were running a 4-4-2 formation, meaning that they'll have two strikers which they can play through, that being Ren and Zero. Each player would later be seen suiting up for the game, with Zero looking at the team around him, not saying anything but standing up. Blue Locks 11 and Japan's U20 would meet in the hallway, with some exchanges happening. Oliver Aiku then looks towards Zero, noting that he was in the front as well. So you're their captain? Nah, I'm just my own leader. Those guys behind me are here to make me look even better. You're an arrogant brat. Call it whatever you want. The two teams would set up, with the crowd on the edge of their seats, as well as the announcers. The match begins, as Zero starts with the ball and rushes right ahead towards the U20 offensive players. They then try to cut him off, but Zero stops and changes direction, bursting with speed in a different way. Ego, while watching from the bench, would state, Atsumi Zero is special, due to the fact that he completely understands himself and his playstyle. The more you throw at him, the more you'll be drained until you have nothing left. He's truly like a sponge, soaking up any information given to him. Zero then dodges another midfielder before kicking the ball right to Ren with a direct pass. Isagi, who was behind the two of them, was completely shocked by how well they actually worked together and began analyzing that play. However, Oliver Aiku cut him off, forcing the shot by Ren to be blocked. As another defender goes to clear it, Zero comes out of nowhere, slamming his right foot into the ball, as this will be Blue Lock's first goal within the first 10 minutes of the match, and the crowd goes wild, especially for Zero. And his mother was there as well, cheering him on, sitting with the moms of Bachira and Isagi. Zero raises his fist to the air, saying hey to Japan. You want a World Cup so badly? Then allow me to lead you to victory. Ren walks over, noting Zero knew that Aiku would choose to guard him instead of himself. Yeah, I did. Based on your status as Itoshi Sei's younger brother, you're the main focus of this match, so I'll be able to vanish in the shadows and strike as I please without hesitation. Ren claims that he won't allow that any longer, but Zero stated he's already fell for it once. The U20 players then all note that Atsumi Zero is truly incredible, as he created that entire play from scratch, leading everyone to believe that he was helping Ren, but really he was using him. Aiku then sighs, saying that Blue Lock was more interesting more than ever. The match would start again, and Sendo sends the ball to Sei, who looks up, dribbling through Ren. You still can't keep up with me, after all this time. From his blind spot, Isagi is later appearing to try and steal it, but Sei nutmegs him and looks ahead. He then crosses the ball to Sendo, who traps it, but he gets bodied by Aryu. Sendo sees his only chance, slamming his foot into the ball, but Ikiniko heads it out of bounds. This gives the U20 team a corner kick, from which Itoshi Sei scores, tying the game once again. The crowd goes wild for their prodigy, but Sei himself seemed agitated that his striker wasn't even producing any goals. Isagi and Nico were both analyzing players like Sei and Zero, wondering how they were able to turn nothing into goals for their teams. Nico himself knew that his trump card would be needed for them to win this match, but he decided to save it just in case this game came down to a final play. Isagi also began to figure out what Zero was seeing that was different from what he was. His eyes could visualize the game completely different. But how was that? Isagi began watching him closer. This time, as the match began, Zero passed it off to the wing, to Karasu, who began to dash forward, passing it to Chigiri, who used his speed, as a speedster grabbed the ball and moved down the line with ease. During this rush to the goal, Isagi followed in Zero's shadow. As he watched him twist and turn his head, surveying everything around him. Wait, what is he doing? He doesn't even have the ball, so why is he looking at everyone like that? This is when he starts to think to himself. Chigiri lifts his head, seeing Ren open the box and sends it that way. But he was also being guarded by Aiku. As it was a low cross to him, Zero intercepts the ball with a perfect trap, spinning around Aiku and Ren as he fakes a shot and performs a Ronaldo chop to his other foot, shooting it into the bottom right corner. After the match against the World 5, Zero had realized many of his weaknesses as a striker, especially thanks to Silva, who had guarded him close and opened his eyes to a new world of football. Isagi is seen going through his own evolution, where he understands what is making Zero so incredible. His omnipotent field of view is another piece towards Isagi's own strategy of victory. As Zero walks back to their side, Isagi thanks him. For what? He then lifts his head, showing his own metavision. But Zero wasn't even using that right now. His own abnormal reflexes were enough at this point. He only used metavision in small increments to prolong his stamina. Well, I'll be damned. Don't tell me you learned that just from watching me. What a cheat code, I had to figure it out myself. I find you pretty interesting, Yoichi Isagi. Zero looks back to see Itoshi Sei also focusing his gaze upon him. So it seems you're Japan's savior, the striker who will emerge from the pit of this shitty country. Yeah, you could call me that, but I just go by Atsumi Zero. Ren overhears this interaction between them, making him angry that his elder brother was even showing interest towards someone like this. Ren hadn't even seen Zero until the final part of the second selection in Blue Lock, but if he had to compare their strength, Zero is stronger than him. The U20 team then decided to make a final push before the halftime, with Itoshi Sei leading the charge. He enforces passes back and forth, as this was when he sends one final pass to Sendo. The U20 striker is able to trap the ball, but both Nico and Isagi cut him off, and would get the steal. Isagi takes the ball heading forward and passes to Bachira. The carefree dribbler would get around his defender and looks up as he sends it to the middle, where both Ren and Zero are guarded. However, it goes over their heads and to Isagi. This is my chance, my own goal. As he goes to use his direct shot, Itoshi Sei knocks him off balance, and it goes out of bounds. The ref would then blow the whistle for halftime, and Itoshi Sei calls it commendable that he got so close, but he'll need more than that to score here on this stage. Blue Lock's team then heads into the locker room, where some changes would be made to it. Ego subs in Ryo for Karasu, and their formation would go to a 3-5-2. As for the U20 team, we all know who they decide to sub in. Ryusei Shido steps onto the pitch, looking forward at Zero. So, we'll finally get to decide who's better after all. Zero turns his back to him. Yeah, it looks that way. Shido sends the ball back to Sei, who looks ahead, seeing his brother appear. I won't let you get by me again. Ren jabs at the ball only for Sei to blitz him. However, he wasn't done just yet, as Ren managed to keep up with his elder brother, entering his own demonic flow-like state. The two would battle it out for a short while before the ball is passed to Shido, who seems to have no one in his way. He dribbles around Isagi and then heads to goal, but then Ryo pushes against him. Not this time. Ryo and Shido would also go back and forth, with Shido shocked how he's able to keep up so well, as this is when he seems to be copying the defensive style of Oliver Aiku. This is when he manages to send the ball in a different direction. As it bounced in open space, one player would claim it for his own. Yoichi Isagi traps it and then turns his head to see Bachira running by him, so he sends it that way. Bachira calls upon the monster inside him, showing Japan his skills, as once he gets by two defenders, he passes it back to Isagi, who looks up towards goal. Oliver Aiku stands in his way and wonders if he can even create his own goal from here. He sees an opening for a shot and swings his leg, going right for it. This is when Itoshi Sei knocks him off balance again, saying he's pretty predictable. However, Isagi had lifted the ball instead of shooting it this time. I don't know why I haven't thought of this before, but after watching Nagi, I should have done this a while ago. Isagi performs a new shot. His new volley direct shot. This wonder goal goes in, shocking even Jinpachi Ego, who didn't know that Isagi had something like this up his sleeve. But it must have been him developing throughout this match. The players on Blue Lock surround Isagi, especially Bachira and Chigiri, who celebrate this goal, causing him to fall over. Zero is the one to catch him, noticing how exhausted he was. Not bad for your first real taste of Metavision, but you'll need to pace yourself if you want to stay in this match, runt. Isagi looks up, noting that Zero also seemed a little different. As within his mind, his two personalities were clashing in a way. But soon, even they came to an agreement. There's only one way for them to win. They have to combine themselves and work together, as they slowly begin merging into one. As while this process was happening, Shido and Sei would go on to score their usual goals. But during another time, as Shido had the ball, he was currently breaking the ankles of Zero. But Zero fell into a flashback. It's when his father was still becoming sick, but was still coming to his games. Right now, his team was down 2 goals, with Zero losing hope for a win, as there was only a short amount of time left. Zero, come here. He walks over to his father, who puts his hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry, father, but I can't win. This is when he's slapped. Your name is Atsumi Zero. To lose now is to forsake everything you've done and all the people who put their faith into you. For you to give up and lose is to reject even me. This is the moment where Zero's second personality truly develops, as it was a coping mechanism to honor his father. That's when he allowed himself to become more serious and tactical. Shido was seen with a smile on his face, getting ready to pass to Sei, but he was bodied off of the ball, as now Zero stands over him. Man, who knew football could be so damn fun? Zero dashes ahead with the ball at his feet and a smile on his face. So this is what it is. It's pretty damn amazing, you football freak. Flow might be one of the best things you would have taught me. Zero's flow is chaotic on his red side, while on his golden side, it flowed perfectly. This is where Zero goes on to lead Blue Lock to victory, with the final score being 4-3, as Zero gets a post-game interview alongside Isagi. After the match, the two would state that each of them wants to become the best striker in the world. If you made it to this point in the video, I really appreciate it, as this was a series that really challenged me, especially since I put myself in it. I was planning on going into the Neo Egoist League, but once I finished the U20 arc, especially at this point of it, it felt so complete to me, especially what I did with my character as well. If you did enjoy this story and my 20k special, and want to continue seeing Blue Lock What Ifs on my channel, consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. My name is Zero, and I'll catch all of you unpolished gems later.